All right, guys. It's the day of PGA. We've got those awards handed out tonight, and tomorrow is SAG, the Screen Actors Guild Award nominations, the winners announced rather. And as we head into PGA real quick, I can just really this should take like all of a minute here, but you've got the three feature categories are doc feature, animated feature, and best picture. For doc feature, I think Fire of Love is probably in a good spot there. Naval Knee after the win at BAFTA, I can see an argument for that one. All That Breathes and Descendant are also, I think, in play here. Since All the Beauty and the Bloodshed seems to still be the favorite at the Oscars. We'll see if it is after this. I mean, if Naval Knee does come off and win this, then okay, then I can see a more clear path for that one. But we'll have to see there. Right now, I have Fire of Love in there. For animated feature, that's super. Yeah, that's going to be Pinocchio. I have no doubt at all. Anything else would be a really shocking upset at this point. Then for Best Picture, this year I think, despite its weird performance at BAFTA, I think Everything Everywhere All at Once I think is in good shape here tonight. I really don't see it going down and losing badly here. Banshees, I think, and Fabelmans will have an argument. I could even see, in a more competitive year, I could see something like Top Gun winning here. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think Everything Everywhere, despite not doing well at BAFTA, it really hasn't stumbled anywhere else. DGA gave their top prize to Everything Everywhere. And I think otherwise, I think it's in good shape here. I'm really, I don't think there's really too many arguments against it at this point. I think it's in really good shape. SAG, though, on Sunday night, tomorrow night, there's going to be some interesting ones here. I feel pretty good about three categories for sure, with the fourth one being a probably. The other two I've looked at again, and I'm like, okay, one of them I made a switch in, the other one I did not, but we'll get there. For film ensemble for stunts, I'm seeing some people just picking Top Gun here, and it could be Top Gun. But you know what? Between the first Black Panther, which I believe I did not pick, I can't remember if I did or not at this point. Maybe I did. I have to remember who the other ones were. I think I had Avengers Endgame actually, or Infinity War rather, because Infinity War was the same year as Black Panther. If I didn't have Black Panther, I had Avengers, but I might have gone Black Panther. I can't remember, but no, some of the other superhero sequels have done well here. Wonder Woman. 1984 won in 2020. Last year went to who won last year? Jeez, I'm forgetting now. It was a superhero, wasn't it? Or it was a sequel, or it was a female stunt thing. No, sorry, I'm thinking of the first Wonder Woman. Also was an upset over Dunkirk for stunt ensemble. Let's see here. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Because for whatever reason I can't remember last year's. Oh, last year's was Bond, No Time to Die. That's right. Otherwise it was Avengers Endgame in 2019, Wonder Woman in 2017. So it's generated more toward the superhero flicks as of late, and you do have two of them in here with Batman also a nominee here for tomorrow night. I don't really sense that Batman's going to put up much of a fight here. I think it is Black Panther to win here, but then again, you do have Top Gun, which is a Best Picture nominee at the Oscars, as is Avatar, and Avatar's on there too. But Avatar, especially, that one I was a little more surprised at because, so much of it is digital and everything. I didn't really think they would bite that one. But Maverick, I at the end of the day, if it does win, there's at least, you can talk yourself into saying, okay, now it would make sense. But just for the fact that I've gotten some of these wrong in the past with the superhero films, I'm going to go with Black Panther this time. Okay, moving on to the supporting races. Supporting actress, I feel pretty good about Angela Bassett right now. If Condon wins it, though, then we've got a race. Then we've got a legit race going up to the last couple weeks here before the Oscars. And that would be more fun because, again, like we've talked about a couple times here, Banshees, I think, at BAFTA, and possibly even, again, I didn't ever take much stock in it, but DGA and BAFTA last weekend presented an opportunity for Banshees maybe to start a mid-season turn if it was going to end up being our Best Picture winner. And really, at this point, if you're in my camp, you're thinking that Everything Everywhere All at Once has picture, it has at least one acting race, it probably has screenplay then, it might take editing. Personally, I don't think so. I'm still on Top Gun for that one. But, getting those other categories and stuff, that doesn't really leave Banshees with too many options, because, I have Top Gun over Banshees and Everything Everywhere All at Once in editing. I have Everything Everywhere over Banshees for screenplay, and I have it over it in at least that one, Best Supporting Actor. That's true. Yeah, even though, again, Barry Keoghan won last weekend, which was, that was the hometown favorite. It wasn't Colin Farrell, which is still a little shocking to me. But no, Carrie Condon, I think, again, it's like, it's not a breakthrough role for her. It's not like a Lupita or Ariana DeBose from last year. It's not one of those type of roles where, the whole town is talking about her performance. It's not quite one of those. So if it was, and Banshees, it would be an obvious place to award Banshees. But right now, there is not a super obvious place to award it. So I don't think they're going to go with Carrie tomorrow night. So that leaves Angela. And I think if Angela wins SAG, then, we're pretty much good to go there. Speaking of Lupita, it wouldn't quite be like what we had that year, where it was like, okay, Jennifer Lawrence had won the Globe, lost Critics' Choice to Lupita won SAG, BAFTA came around and gave it to Jennifer Lawrence, which ended up kind of probably being a makeup win there for her, because she didn't win BAFTA the year previous for Silver Linings Playbook, where otherwise she had dominated the season. So, so Angela Bassett, though, I think, if she wins SAG tomorrow, then it's almost like a no-brainer from that point on that she's got the Oscar, too. Q Kwan, I think, gets a big bounce back tomorrow night after BAFTA, whatever the hell they were thinking, and gives it to him. And I like Barry in the movie, too. In fact, I prefer his performance over Brendan Gleeson's, actually. If it was me doing it and I only had room for one guy from Banshees to get in, I probably would have picked Barry over Brendan. But that being said, Q Kwan, I really don't think he's going to miss tomorrow night. I think he's got it. Best Actress, I know at least on Gold Derby they have Michelle Yeoh picked out to win, but no, I disagree. It's Cate Blanchett. I think she's got it. And several other people on the channel here have pointed out in comment sections and stuff, Everything Everywhere is also up for Ensemble, so if she doesn't win this particular race, but it ends up winning Ensemble, it doesn't, that means she doesn't go home empty-handed. So, so I think Cate, though, in the meantime, Tar is not up for Ensemble, which is really the only drawback. I mean, otherwise, Cate has won everything. She won the Globe, even though she was in a different race than Michelle was. She won over her at Critics' Choice, won over her at BAFTA, and everything there. So, Cate Blanchett. Yeah, I think some people are just overthinking it and going with Michelle. Best Actor. I made the switch, guys. Austin Butler has it tomorrow night, I think. Again, I'm still a little held back by the fact that Elvis doesn't have any other nominations at SAG. Hong Chow is up for Supporting Actress, so The Whale does have, even though it's not up, neither one is up for Ensemble, The Whale technically does have more support, which is, again, dangerous in a spot like this. But I feel like with the BAFTA win and the fact that when we go down the road to the Oscars here in a couple weeks, how many times have we seen a role like that where it's like, the person that's up for a role like that, if their film doesn't have as much support, they can't pull it off. I think of Glenn Close. I think of Chadwick Boseman. There's one other example that I'm forgetting right now. Sylvester Stallone in Creed. You get those BAFTA winners coming back and repeating at the Oscars. So I think SAG, if they want to, if the voters want to get ahead on that, or if just personally they like his performance better, Austin's, than Brendan's, then I can see that. And it's weird, in retrospect, after BAFTA and stuff, a lot of people have been kind of turning on Fraser a little bit. Just a few things here and there I've heard where it's people saying like, well, he was okay in it, the fat suit was doing most of the work and stuff, which I'm like, oh, come on, guys. you don't think like and this is just a thing for me because I know we haven't really had too many like superhero actors nominated for Oscars and stuff. Angela's kind of a the exception this year, outside of a Heath Ledger or a Joaquin Phoenix and so on. But the costume and working with the costume and all that stuff, that's part of the job. You can't tell me that Robert Downey Jr., for example, when he in the first couple Iron Mans before they all CG'd it and stuff. To make it easier on him. In the first couple Iron Mans, you can't tell me he wasn't, doing work still, because, just because he was carrying, the armor and stuff. It's like, that's part of it. That's part of the experience. That's part of the performance, is carrying that stuff, and you don't have to act too hard because some of that stuff is heavy, and same with a fat suit. It's like, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the perspiration that we see on him on the film and stuff, I'm sure a lot of that was real. Some of it is maybe makeup just to to make it glisten a little more in the lights and stuff and all that. But you can't convince me that at least some of it was not real. So I don't know why. Yeah, I think part of it is just to kind of brace people, because I know early on in the season, especially after his kind of emotional reception to the film at the Venice screening, I know a lot of people were kind of on a track to say, "Yep, he's got it in the bag." So I don't know if that's just people just turning just because they want to be right, and they're looking for reasons to attack him and kind of put him down and stuff, but I don't know. And yeah, I mean, he is really good in the movie. I never did get a chance to see Elvis, so I can't compare and contrast here, but anyways, yeah, I just look at it again, I'm like, yeah, I gotta go Austin Butler here. It's going to be a lot more interesting, though, for Best Actor at the Oscars if Brendan wins tomorrow night. Because then it's like, okay, the Globes went with Austin Butler. And, at the time we were kind of explaining it away. It's like, yeah, Brendan had accused a former president and stuff of groping him and inappropriate touching and everything. So it made sense why they went with Austin Butler. Plus, his film was up for Best Picture over there versus The Whale was not. Then, Fraser went on to win at Critics' Choice, and yeah, then it was like, yep, that makes sense. Then BAFTA came along, and it's like, once again, here comes Elvis with a Best Film nomination. The Whale does not, and who wins? It's Austin Butler. Yeah, so it's like, okay, and then, yeah, that was also, they really liked Elvis, too, though. They gave it 4 wins, after all. So, I think a lot of us also, after last week, we were kind of a little, saying, okay, is BAFTA a little high off of just the fact that they liked All Quiet on the Western Front that much, So I've heard a couple people that are arguing for Brendan also give that argument. They're like, hey, just because Austin won over there, that might just be because they loved Elvis that much. Look at how many other wins it got that night and stuff. I need to remind myself, too, did Elvis only had like a win or two at, or maybe just had the one win at Critics' Choice. I need to remind myself here. It won just for makeup. It only had one win there at Critics' Choice. It only had, I believe, the 3 nominations at the Globes and 1 for Best Actor there, of course, like we talked about. But I know some people on the opposite side of the fence there, though, have said, yeah, maybe that was, BAFTA just liked what they liked this year. I mean, after all, again, Elvis got 4. Banshees got 4. All Quiet on the Western Front took 7, It's like, really, they outside of that, they didn't love anything, Even when you get to, like, Top Gun, which, still did pretty well over at BAFTA, or I should say in the UK and stuff, box office-wise, it's like that went home with nothing. Tar had only won the one category, Best Actress. Let's see. Everything Everywhere All at Once, like we said, that only had 1 win. Babylon had 3 nominations. That only came away with 1 win. Avatar had 2 or 3 or maybe 4 nominations. That only had the 1 win. So it's like, some people have argued they just liked what they liked. And I think that's going to be a good lesson for us tomorrow night. We're going to see, whatever the result is, whether it's Fraser coming back and winning. And then then it does become an interesting thing, because there is a good amount of overlap between SAG and the Oscars and the voting thing, but BAFTA, I think, does have a bigger number of overlaps. So we'll see if BAFTA. So that's again why I'm saying, if BAFTA loved Elvis that much and they liked Austin Butler that much, that might still spell some doom and gloom for Brendan Fraser. And we'll have to see, too, the kind of last stretch campaigning, what goes on there and stuff. And when we get closer to, like, the week and a half before the Oscars, maybe even 4 or 5 days before the Oscars, around that time, is when we get some of those confidential ballots. What people are saying they voted for and stuff, anonymously most of the time at least. And they might say what branch they're in, but otherwise they won't say their names or anything. And it'll be interesting to see who votes for who. How many went for Austin Butler? How many went for Brendan Fraser? And possibly, as some have said, what happens if there becomes a big split between those two? If the voters just can't make up their minds and just enough of them vote for Colin Farrell and he ends up winning. Now, that would have made more sense if he had won at BAFTA. And if he pulls off a big upset tomorrow night and beats both of them, Colin Farrell, okay, then I might really consider, because then Banshees has a more obvious place you can award it, possibly, if he carries through and actually ends up winning the Oscar too. But wow, that would be a kind of a weird late turn like that. That's almost, again, kind of weirdly enough, it's almost like an Anthony Hopkins win at the last minute, except there at BAFTA it made more sense. Here at SAG it would be still a pretty big upset, And weird that those would both be the last televised award before we got to the Oscars. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm personally not putting a lot of stock into Colin Farrell tomorrow night to do well off of split voting. But hey, at least I've seen a couple people call it. So let's see if they're right. We'll see. Let's see. Then we have for film ensemble. I think this is a legit two-way race between Banshees and Everything Everywhere. Banshees kind of has that feel of, and we looked at it last time. I believe it was not 12 Years a Slave, but I believe it was Birdman was the last one that had been up for multiple awards, lost all of them, but still went on to win for ensemble. And yeah, that could happen if, after all, it does have tied with Everything Everywhere at Once. They're both tied for 5 nominations after all. So, both of them did well here. But I don't know. Just the way the wind is blowing as far as Best Picture, and SAG liking to be a good predictor of Best Picture, and they get a lot of credit for that last year with the Coda turn that happened. They get a lot, they helped really steer that ship last year to get Coda the win, and it ended up becoming true. So I think they want to go and do that again. So if that's the way it is, Everything Everywhere all at Once, I think, has it. But yeah, otherwise I think, I'm not putting near as much stock personally into Banshees, just for my personal taste, because again, I think this is, again, like I kind of said at the beginning of the season too, this is a movie that generally the voters like. They like it enough to give it multiple nominations in an acting category like supporting actor. They like it enough to put him in, Martin McDonagh in this time for Best Director. They like it enough to put it in for film editing at a couple of these spots. But there's really, again, outside of BAFTA, there really isn't like a love for it. Like Critics' Choice, not a win. Globes, they did have a couple wins, that's true. But actually 3 wins: a screenplay, actor, comedy musical, and picture comedy musical. But that's been really the one place. Even BAFTA, again, as many people were predicting, and I thought might happen at the end of the day, I was like, if that one actually does well and gets like the 5, 6, 7 wins that some people are projecting for it, that's a good show of strength for them and stuff. But I don't know. I just, and this is just me too. Outwardly, I haven't heard a lot of people love the movie. I haven't heard too many people talk about it and say that it's their favorite film of the year. They like it better than Everything Everywhere. They like it better than The Fabelmans. They like it better than some of these other films out this year. Top Gun and so on and so forth. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm not personally putting a lot of stock into it. Coda, you could hear in the enthusiasm and stuff. Whenever that was nominated anywhere, you could hear the enthusiasm of the crowd. And you knew that they liked that one a lot. With Parasite, you could tell, especially after the SAG win, when those actors got up on that stage, even when they introduced them, just to introduce the ensemble of the film, which they do. They have a short presentation where they say, this is the ensemble for blah, 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 and they show a couple clips of the movie and stuff. You could tell that room was ready to award Parasite. There was a love there for that. So, I think there is a sense of that for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think it's the cool movie this year. It's the movie that, again, has the most nominations at the Oscars, tied for the most nominations here tomorrow night at SAG. I just feel like it's that's the way the wind's shifting, and I think it's something we've kind of known for a little bit. And I think tomorrow night, I think will be a good tonight and tomorrow night both. If Everything Everywhere can win both, I think will be a really great bounce back, and then it kind of becomes maybe inevitable at that point that it's a favorite to win the Oscar as well. So, all right, I think that's all I got for today. So we'll be back here tomorrow night after the conclusion of SAG, and we'll just kind of run through the winners quick and talk about what happened, what didn't happen, where do we go from here, is there any other genuine surprises, and if there are, if for whatever reason there's a big upset tonight at PGA, we'll get into that as well, and we'll discuss what that means. But like I said, I'm not going with an upset tonight. I think it's Everything Everywhere. So, all right, we'll catch you guys tomorrow night.